Welcome to a mainlydiy.com video.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to Mainly DIY's new series on knitting. We're going to take you step through cast on, knitting, purling, and then some other stitches. So be sure to join us at Mainly DIY for some extra tips and details. We also have videos on crocheting, other needle fiber projects, and a whole bunch of other crafting projects. So be sure to check out mainlydiy.com. Good morning. Today we're going to start a new series on Mainly DIY, how to do some knitting. We're going to start with the basics and do some knitting. So we're just going to kind of maybe make a scarf of different patterns. So we're going to make it probably about that wide. And the first thing we need to do is learn how to cast on. Alright. There are a few different methods for cast on, but this is the one I like. I'm going to start, part way. I've got the end of my yarn here, and I'm going to start part way up. Well, how do I know how much yarn I need on this tail? Well, if I want my piece about that wide, roughly, I'm going to triple that. So that's 1, 2. Okay, so then, maybe take a little bit more, and I'm going to make a slip knot. So what I'm going to do is fold one over the other, and then I'm going to put my fingers down through the hole and pull up this tail piece and make a slip knot. And when you pull on this, it tightens it up. So let's do that again. So I'm folding one over the other, and then I'm going to reach down the middle and pull up that piece. So I'm crossing one piece over the other. See how this piece is on top? So I'm going to reach down in the hole and pull this one that's on the top up through the bottom, and it will make a nice little slip knot. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put that on my needle and tighten it up. Now, one thing to be careful of is don't do this too tight, especially at first. You want to be able to have it slide some on your needle. That's why a metal needle works really well. I wouldn't invest in bamboo needles when you start out. I would start with the metal one. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cast on. So on my long end, my end that's connected to my skeiny yarn, I am going to lay it over my hand and then wrap it around my thumb, just like that. Okay. And then I'm going to stick the needle between my thumb and my finger underneath this piece of yarn. And then I'm going to take my tail thread, this is the one that has the shorter end, and I'm going to come over the end of the needle so it's right up, it's kind of laying across the top of the needle. See, here it is here. And then I'm going to take this piece that's on my thumb and pull that over the needle and then tighten it up, but not super tight, just you want it enough so it slides, but you don't want it loosey-goosey either. Okay, so let's do this again. So I am taking my yarn end, wrapping it around my thumb, coming underneath the yarn between my forefinger and my thumb, so it's laying over the top of the needle. I'm taking my tail piece, which is my cut end of the yarn. I'm going to wrap it over the end of the needle, so I've got it right up so it's across the front of the needle, and then I'm going to take my thumb and go right over the top of the needle and then tighten it right up. Alright, so Wrap it around the thumb, come between the thumb and the forefinger, wrap my tail piece so it's over, lays right on top of the needle. Take my thumb and pull it over the needle. There we go. So I'm just going to continue along like this, and this is all there is to my cast on. So I want to get a nice uniform kind of knot system down here at the bottom. Again, making sure I don't do it too tight, because it will bite you in the end if you do it too tight. Because you need to be able to have your stitches move on your needle, but not necessarily fall off, but do want them to slide. Okay, so you see that didn't make a very long piece, a very wide piece, if you will. I wanted a lot more than that, but my needle I have here is kind of fat, so 3 times wasn't enough. So I'm going to slide that right off, and we'll start all over again. So I want my piece to be about that long, so that's 1 length, 2. That's going to give us plenty of tail, I believe, but let's try it out. So instead of just doing 3, we're going to go 8 times the width of what we want. So again, I'm going to make a slip knot, wrap it around over the top of itself, set it down here. So slip knot, lay it over the top of itself. Now this is the tail piece. So I can bring the loop right over the top of the tail piece and then pull this one up. Okay, you want to look at that again? So we made the tail piece is on top. You can pick up our loop, lay it right on top of the other piece and pull up that center, and that's going to give us our slip knot. Okay. Alright, so we're going to put that on our needle, not super tight, and then we're going to start casting on. So we're wrapping the long piece that's still attached to our skein or our spool of yarn, or a ball of yarn rather, and I'm wrapping it around my thumb loosely, taking the needle and putting it down between my thumb and my forefinger underneath the yarn. See, so it goes like this. And then I'm taking my tail piece, which is my cut end, wrapping it around, so under the needle and then up over the needle, so it crosses the top of the needle, and then I'm going to take my thumb and pull it right over the top of the needle, and then I can tighten my stitch right down. Let's do that again. So I'm wrapping the yarn around my thumb, putting the needle between my thumb and my forefinger underneath that yarn so it lays over the needle, taking my tail piece from the back side, wrapping it around the top of the needle, and then pulling my thumb over. And I'm going to continue with this. Trying to get even consistent knots on the bottom, but not tight, because you do want it to slide. You don't want it to fall off, but you do want it to slide freely. Okay, so let's go over that again. We've got this long piece connected to the yarn. We're wrapping it around our thumb, taking our needle, going between the thumb and the forefinger, but underneath the piece of yarn. And then this hand, we're taking the tail piece, the piece with the cut end, underneath the needle and then over the top, so it's laying on top, and then you're going to take your thumb and put it right over the end of the needle and tighten up. Okay, so I have just a little tail left here. I've got all my stitches cast on. That's about how much I wanted. Now I did about 8 times, pretty much the needle length. So you might want to go start maybe 10 or 12. Kind of experiment, see what you need. It's a good way to practice casting on too. So I have all of them cast on. And then we're ready for our next lesson.